Hello friends, my name is Srinivas and I welcome you to my channel Coding Skills. As part of this video, we will learn how to work with a callable statement in JDBC programming. So as we know, usually statement and prepare statement are used to perform regular CRUD operations, and we wanted to see how we can invoke a database procedure or a function. So that's where we have to use a callable statement which is part of JDBC. So let's see how we can implement the same. So we need to have a couple of import statements: callable statement, connection, driver manager, SQL exception, types. All these are from java.sql package. And there is one more import, java.util.scanner, to read some data from the keyboard. If you look into the program in detail, so we have a couple of variable declarations which are initialized with some default values. First one is the URL of the database, which is really important to connect to any particular database. This is a driving factor, like what is the database that we are trying to establish a connection. JDBC colon post GRSQL colon localhost colon port number and the respective database name. Here right now I am having database in my local system, so which is running. So that's where I have used a localhost. Suppose if the database is running in some other machine, so then you need to give the IP address or the system name of that particular machine. 5432 is the default port number for Postgres database. The username and password which I have used currently, the username and password both are same, the Postgres. Declared a connection variable. And to work with any in JDBC operations, so the try catch block is really important because you might see a lot of exception handlings. It might throw a lot of issues. The very first step that needs to be executed is class.forName and org.postgresql.driver. So we are trying to load a database driver specific to the Postgres database. Once it's loaded successfully, that means it has identified the driver class, and we need to establish a connection. So what we are, after loading the driver, we just mentioned printing a message stating that we are trying to connect to a database. So this is where the establishing a connection equal to driver manager dot get connection. For that we are supplying three values: URL, username and password. All three input values where it will take and it will establish a connection. Suppose if it establish connection as expected, then it will try to execute the remaining statement. Suppose if there is any issue as part of execute this statement, then it will jump back to the catch block that we will see down the line. Assuming that it has connected successfully, then it will print the message that connected to a database successfully. Now it's time to read data. So for that we need to create a scanner object. Scanner is equal to new scanner system.in. So we are trying to map it to input stream, which is keyboard. So in this example, what we are trying to do is we are trying to call a storage procedure which will perform some basic arithmetic operation like adding up the two numbers. For that, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to read two numbers from the input stream. Enter number 1 int n1 equal to sc.nextInt. In the same way, enter number 2 int n2 equal to sc.nextInt. We are reading both the numeric values from the input stream. Once we have all the information ready, now we need to establish the callable statement object. The callable statement cs equal to connection.prepare call, and there is a certain structure that needs to be followed whenever you are working with any kind of a like callable statement, like to invoke a specific procedure or a function. The question mark equal to call and name of the procedure. All these question marks indicate that parameters. It can be like input or output. So we will talk about those things down the line. So the left side one is like obviously like it's a kind of assignment, right? This is the return value that is going to be captured. So left question mark equal to, and here these two are input values to the prog. So the simple this, and JDBC index starts with 1. So this is the first index, and this is second index and third index. So if you observe here, so we are setting the values for all three here. cs dot register route parameter means register route parameter means, so there is something that is going to be written from the function of the procedure, the function. So we need to capture that information, which is an out parameter. Out means we are going to get the output from the respect to the DB call what we are trying to make here. So its index is 1 and its data type is numeric type dot integer. So we are telling about this question mark that it is an output parameter and which is of type integer. So in the next one, cs dot set int, the second portion we are passing n1 means what you are from the here. The same way cs dot set int 3 equal to n2. So for these two we have separated input values, and for this one we are trying to capture, we have mentioned the what is the type of the information. Once we set all the values, it's time to execute cs dot execute. Once you execute it, so if it is able to identify the function and it will execute and it will provide the result. So sum of the given two numbers using db function is, so cs dot set get int, right? Because the first portion is, that's where the output parameter, right? We need to get the information cs dot get int. This is going to print as the result of that. Once you are done with everything, make sure to close your callable statement. So all these are in the try block. So these are the catch block here. So SQL exception and class not found exception. So here I have clubbed multiple catch blocks together, and we are printing a stack test. So this will help us like to identify what is a cause, which is identified as part of execute try block. Based on that we can take the next step like to address the issue. Once everything is done, so finally is a block which will be called whether the code is executed to the try block or the catch block. So this is where you need to make sure to release all other resources. So connection, we know that it needs to be released, right? So connection not equal to null means if the connection was not closed still, so we are trying to close the connection, and we are printing a message on the console, the connection closed. If you observe here, to close the connection itself, like we had to use a try catch block. The reason is this will throw SQL exception. So this is how the implementation is. So now let's switch back to the database to see whether this about this function. I'm going back to the Postgres. So in my Postgres, in my database and Postgres, there is add function. Add function which is already there, and what I have to do, I'll change the name. So let's try to compile this one. See that right? Function add is already existing. Let's change it to something else. Make it some keyboard. Let's compile. Refresh here. So calculate sum is a function name that we have created, right? It seems to be like it's not a case sensitive. That's where like it is. Even if I give a caps, it's giving a small letter. So now go back to your program. Calculate sum. I'm running this program now. So sum of the given two numbers using the db function is 30. Let's run it again. This time I give a negative value. So sum should be 90, right? Minus 90. This is how we can see the implementation. Let me go back to the function logic. So if you see here, this is a simple function in a database calculate sum, which is taking two numeric values and it is returning a numeric value. The logic is straightforward. So what are the parameters that you are giving here? We're just saying select $1 plus $2. Dollar is a prefix to the variables inside here. So it's just summing up the values what you have supplied here, and it's simply returning it. So it is kind of a language SQL and immutable, and it returning null or not. So primary logic is this part. It returns, it is computing the sum of the values. So if you can customize the logic here, and you'll see the result accordingly. So here, what I mentioned here. So as part of using a callable statement, we can invoke a procedure or a function, right? Let me tell you some difference about procedure and function. Procedure means it is not going to return any value, whereas a function is it is going to return a value. So I'm telling the difference from the database point of view. So right now what we are doing here is a function, because it is a function. As I said, the function is going to return a value. That's where we are capturing on the left side, and the right side is the actual the operation. So this is returning some value. That's where we have captured, right? This is a function call. Suppose if it is a procedure, so you will not see the question mark, something like this. Implementation will be different. Clear, right? So please like the video and share it with your friends. In case if you are looking for any specific program, please do let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much.